Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good.
I think the fiercest thing about queer youth of color in Toronto is that we're here and that we are like thriving and making networks with each other and supporting each other. I think that's really awesome to see. I really wish that like I had a network of like queer friends of color back home when I was growing up. I think that would have like changed a lot of like how I saw queerness.
No!
Oh, other way! Other way! Other way!
Oh! That's what's supposed to happen, right? Good.
Ahoy down there!
Oh!
Ahoy!
You need to get a shot from here of Afi on the Juliet balcony. This right here.
Rapunzel! Rapunzel!
I was born and raised in Trinidad, and I moved here 6 years ago with my family.
This is my mom. These are my neighbors. Rihanna, Ryan, it's my granny, my dad's mom. And this house was like the first house I grew up in back home.
My family and I moved to Canada when I was 18. It was a bit of a culture shock for me. We moved into an area in Brampton that was like really, really white. I never thought of racism that much growing up back home. I guess because like it's a country like made up of people of color, which was, I never like understood how that affects a person, like living in a country where you're always seen as other, where as opposed to like living in a country where like you like make up the fabric of like society. So moving here, I definitely felt like I was like not knocked off a few classes kind of thing. In the first job I had, I made an announcement over the intercom. Can we get some butter to the front counter? And it was like, what is she talking about? Butter? Like it's butter. Like, so I learned early on to like, just like, you know, make sure I'm talking in a very Canadian way. Which often means that like I censor my accent a lot. Like I was just going into university at that time, U of T at Mississauga, and I didn't know anybody at school. Like lots of people at orientation had like their friends from high school, friends in like their neighborhood and stuff that they knew. Like I just knew nobody, and that was so scary. But yeah, so I didn't really know anybody in university until I joined like the LGBTQ group on campus out at UTM. My friend and I at the time supported each other to go to, they had like big gay old lunches, and I did it, and like feeling like so self-conscious, like oh my god, everyone is watching me, everyone knows I'm queer or an ally. But after a few times going to like the big gay old lunch, like I began to feel more comfortable. I connected to out of UTM. Started going to like a lot of their events, like the movie nights and dialogues they would have, or just hang out. They had an office on campus, and it was just really nice to talk to people who were queer and trans and allies. And there, like I met like a lot of people like who were really supportive and who helped me through like the difficult like time of like when I came out a few years later. remember back home there being like people having a discomfort like around queer issues and people that were queer or lesbian or gay openly. I felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to. I knew I was different for a long time. I wasn't attracted to the boys that like the girls at my school were attracted to. And I went to an all-girls school, and I happened to be attracted to most of the girls at school. And there's this girl who was so beautiful. I just wanted to be around her, and I just kept like feeling that this is a weird feeling to be having. Like, not everyone that I know like wants to spend like all their time with girls, and like that scared me for a long time. And I didn't like when I first like told myself that like, you know, I'm queer, like I broke down crying. I ditched class and just went to the park and cried because I just didn't know how to handle it. And I had told a group of friends when I was like 17 that I was queer in high school, and one girl in particular, like every day till like I graduated high school, called me a faggot. Like she stopped calling me Afi, and like my name was like Fag or Faggot. And I remember like that like really like affected me really horribly in high school. It's really emotional. Yeah, I didn't know how to like take it a lot of the times. I wasn't the type of person to like say something witty back or always have like a good catchphrase or something. I was a person like who would retreat into the corner and like put my head down when people called me names and stuff like that. There was always this like overwhelming fear in my family that there's a gay curse on the family. My mom's brother was gay. He passed away in the 80s. And my mom's sister is gay. She lives in BC right now. And my mother in particular was really scared about this. So she preemptively sent my sister and I for like an exorcism with the church's deaconesses, female deacons. And it was like a very scary thing for me. I spent a lot of my youth like pretending to agree with like a lot of the stuff I was indoctrinated with. I knew from early on that I was different and queer, and I knew that I wouldn't be accepted just by the rhetoric that I heard all the time about queers were an abomination, that they weren't going to enter the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, I always knew that there wasn't a place for me in church, so I hid a lot of myself from the congregation at church. I definitely do miss church. So I try to go every Christmas to the Metropolitan Community Church's Christmas Eve service with my chosen parents, and I cry every single time. It's just like singing those carols and hymns like really brings me back to like my childhood and like my youth. Since graduating from UTM, I've just been wanting to stay connected to queers as much as possible. Like, I feel like UTM was like the starting point of getting involved in the queer community. So since then, I signed up for Outwards, which was run by the People Project, which was this leadership camp for LGBTQ youth, where we learned about like photography and filmmaking and spoken word. And that was really great for me. Like, it opened my eyes to like a lot of queer history that I wasn't exposed to in my formative years at all. I met so many other queer youth, especially queer youth of color, which is really so like affirming to meet people like that.
My name's Jeff, and I'm a participant in Outwards. We've been working for the last kind of 6 months to put together this exhibition, which is right behind me. And I'm still kind of like, why is my picture in a gallery? But it's cool. It's been a good process, and basically working collectively. It's mostly a group of kind of queer and trans youth of color, and being given the tools to kind of tell stories that we often wouldn't be able to otherwise. And so to kind of piece together our history and use art as a way to kind of heal through that and figure out things that we weren't taught and things that, you know, we still kind of on everyday process need to kind of renegotiate within Toronto.
Right now I'm working on a project called the My Message Project, which is run by Springtide Resources, which does anti-violence against women work. And we are going to like high schools around Toronto, talking to kids about how negative messages have hurt us, and why it's so important to give positive messages to each other. We had a student today that like started like crying and saying that yeah, their mother isn't supportive of them being queer. And just to like hold them and like assure them like it gets better, but like it does get better like when you surround yourself with people like who love and affirm you. I also recently joined a queer writing group, queer and trans writing group called Pink Ink. It's a place where youth can come together to explore their writing. We have a really great facilitator that helps us with writing exercises to express how we're feeling. Writing is really a good outlet for me to get my thoughts out of my head and put them on paper, or else like they stifle me. Especially recently, I've been finding that like I'm losing my creative voice because there's so many other, I don't want to say voices in my head, but like so many other like thoughts consuming my mind.
Dinner is ready, Gil. Come to the table. And why weren't you at church today? Everybody was asking for you. Why do you guys go to church so damn often? You were just there last week. And you want to criticize me for going to church street so often? I guess it's a different religion. There was raucous laughter, not awkward conversations about that sermon today. Hallelujah. Or what sister so-and-so daughter was wearing. You see her? How her mother could let her leave the house in that short skirt. No, I was afraid to tell them what I really thought of that sermon. Or that, no, I am never going to be a preacher like my grandparents or my parents. And that, no, for the love of God, I do not have a boyfriend. And that actually, Sister So-and-so's daughter looks so hot in that short skirt.
It's really important for me to be involved in the queer community, well, mostly for a selfish reason, because it helps like sustain me. Having people who go through similar experiences like I do, especially people of color, people from Trinidad who are queer, it's like really good to have that in my life. I've always been a big fan of like percussion. I used to dabble in like playing drums and church a lot, and most recently I have been like going to like African drumming classes, playing the djembe, and also I joined a percussion group called Samba Legua. Plays samba rhythms from Brazil, reggae rhythms, reggaeton rhythms, and it's really like lovely to be in a space where people are playing music. Like I love music creation and learning it in like non-standard classical traditional ways. having support systems around me has really helped me to deal with, especially like homophobia and racism living in the city. And like oddly enough, like I experienced some racism like within the queer community. I didn't think that I would, but like it still exists. Like I feel like people who go through oppression shouldn't put like oppression on other people. That just like boggles my mind. Like I went to this club on Church Street, this bar, and there was a drag queen performing, and a bunch of my friends and we rushed up to the stage to like dance around the stage and stuff. And while she was performing, like her face like just turned sour. She was like, "Ah!" And when the song was done, she got a microphone and said, "What boat did you guys drop off of?" And like the whole crowd was ooh, like, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, was that racist?" So I like to like have that said to you like at a place where you should feel safe. That was really like jarring for me. I'm like, wow, queer people can be racist too, which is like a very scary thing to think about.
It takes a lot of money to look this cheap, okay? I just want to point out, do you all remember this bullshit a few weeks ago? Okay, so, in response to this bullshit, I would just like to say, this is what gay looks like, okay? We are still here. We are still struggling. We are also still fucking fabulous, and nobody does that better than us. So,
Color Me Drag is a showcase for queer and trans people of color. It's one of the few spaces I know that has that inherently in like their mandate to provide spaces like that. So it was really affirming to perform, to share the stage with people of color, queer and trans identified, genderqueer people. Yeah, I don't think I've had an experience like that since then, since I performed in 2010 with Maya, my chosen sister. Racism is a very interesting thing to me to think about, because I know in my family like there's like a lot of like shadeism, especially like on my mom's side, because like my mom's side is like lighter skinned, and for most of my life I've heard comments like, oh, you know, nappy hair is not as pretty as straight hair, not having a buxom bum is ideal, being like, you know, thinner, smaller, that kind of thing. So like the idea that like whiteness was something to aspire to is like always ingrained in me, I guess, in like very like subtle ways. So I've been trying to like reclaim like my blackness and like grow my hair naturally again, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Like I think the thing that I get told the most is that like my hair is so interesting and unique, and people always try to like touch it and stuff like that. And at work, my supervisor, my manager was like, your hair is getting a bit too outrageous. Like it's already so severe, you have such a severe look. Let's trim it a bit. And at first I was like, okay, I can trim it to try to like, you know, fit in. But like someone was like, that's a racist thing to say. Like, do they say that to the other people at work? And then I replied, I'm the only girl at work with like black natural hair. And then I think the second person who I came out to was my aunt. She advised me that I should only come out when I was financially able to sustain myself, because she knew that like the money would kind of stop flowing in once my family found out I was queer. We often kept our communication a secret, so we would email each other, because my mom and dad didn't really like the fact that like I was having contact with someone who was gay and could influence me the wrong way. I really felt like if anything happened, they wouldn't have my back. I felt very afraid of my parents, especially, even more afraid of like my grandparents. And I kept to myself a lot. I read a lot. I did crafts just to like amuse myself. So I met this girl in university and we went out for a little while, and she introduced me to her family, and since then they've like adopted me as their chosen daughter. This is my chosen mom, and on this day in particular she bought me a beautiful chocolate mousse cake for my birthday. Robin, my chosen mom, takes me to see shows and plays, which I usually can't afford on my own budget. She had a combined birthday present for me, Michael, her partner, last year, which was to see Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Yeah, she took us to see The Kink in My Hair, which is also really great. And she identifies as like bisexual, so it's really nice like having her to talk to about like liking people and crushes and stuff like that. I went on a missionary trip with my family and I fell in love with one of the Sunday school teachers at the host church, the church that hosted us while we were in that country doing missionary work. Yeah, and that person went on to be my fiance. We were together for 3 years, long distance, so it was intense. We loved each other hard, but it was like difficult because we both were not in a financial situation to see each other very often. My last trip was before I came out. So after I came out, my grandmother specifically said, you know, you can't be involved with the church anymore, right? So that money was cut off. I could no longer afford to visit her often anymore. And sadly, our relationship fizzled off.
And the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Oh, then I think of you, and the world's alright with me. Hey, just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be, I know it's gonna be a lovely, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day.
I also started like volunteering just wherever I could, doing whatever I could. Whether it be like helping the Rainbow Glee Coalition the other day to stage manage their Day of Pink event at the 519.
The trigger. We are a recreational group exploring singing and other aspects of the performing arts together. We cater mainly to the LGBT community, and we try to engage youth in the community to come to our program to explore the performing arts, mainly in singing. And so far our group is kind of gelling to be more than just a recreational group, but more of a mini family.
And I think in general, I am really drawn to groups that like use the arts. So like Il Nana with dance, Rainbow Glee Club with singing. I really think that like arts is a really good way to promote and like bring about like social change. I really think those groups are a really good way to like help me just get out of my like depression sometimes. Yeah. since I was a little kid. Yeah, the what I perform about is totally different now. I feel like performing now is a way for me to like connect myself to myself. But it also is a way for me to challenge like myself, because like I still have like a lot of like body shame around like my tummy and like being a bit bigger. So it often like is like a confidence booster and a self-esteem booster for me to perform. It's something I'm really interested in. I'm exploring tap right now with my friend Kumari. She's a fellow dancer. She dances right now with Ilma Na, and we've been having a lot of fun with tap. Yeah, because it's not something you see a lot of these days. You see more like, you know, hip-hop or contemporary. You don't really see tap in like the media these days. I've definitely performed in spaces that weren't exclusively like queer friendly, and it's a different experience, especially like when what I'm performing about is like totally like queer, you know? Yeah, I don't try to like cover up who I am. Well, I try not to cover up who I am, like when I perform especially. I've always been on the periphery of theater or performance in some way, from either performing with the church when I was a kid, and then I realized that I really want to be someone that like can support artists and performers that I know. So I asked MC Jazz, who works at the Buddies in Bad Times Theater, to mentor me in like stagecraft and stuff like that, and stage management. And she was really helpful in like teaching me the ropes about a lot of things. And I love like event planning. I think that's so great, and especially like to put together events for people in my community really like motivates me. It's partly why I put together crafting parties at my house. It's called Crafty Queers, and it's a space where people can come share skills that they have making crafts, be silly with each other, meet new people, try to have like a different craft every month. I think it's really important for people in the community to really communicate with each other, and to do that I think we have to like often like check our privilege to do that. Like for me, I know I have to like check like my cis privilege at the door a lot of the times when I try to like enter into discussions with people, because in order for like our community to like grow, we need to like talk to each other and strategize about how to do things. That's what like helps to make us resilient, is when we have like people helping to like prop us up, and we could help prop those people up as well. Because I felt like if I didn't have anybody, I would have certainly like not have been here. It's definitely been a journey for me to like sit here and like talk about these things. For most of my teenage years, I didn't think that I would be here. I thought about suicide a lot, especially when I felt like I had no one to talk to, and just like having at least like one friend in my corner like saved me. I would love to live in a world where people didn't feel like they had to hide part of themselves to be accepted. Like I work as an usher in a theater, and like a lot of the work that gets produced is like inherently racist, and to see like people pay lots of money to sit down and laugh at someone dressed up in a costume of someone else's culture, it's like really, I am totally like at a loss for words when I see that happening. And I think it's really terrible that we live in a world where that exists. And I would love like for our differences to be celebrated rather than being made to feel ashamed of our differences. That's the world I wish we lived in.